And this is a very special topic that we're discussing today, especially that nowadays we're having a problem of garbage in Lebanon. So how to make our office, paperless office is very, very important nowadays in Lebanon. So I hope they'll enjoy this webinar and they'll learn a lot from it.
Okay, thank you, Wallet, and good to hear from you. I will mute you back now. So appreciate Wallet. He is a very well respected leader on the international and global stage. Is also an NAR director and just an all around good guy. But he's very well respected, and people appreciate his wisdom and the knowledge he brings to the real estate community. So thank you, Wallet, for inviting me to do this, and we will get started. So my first question, I have a couple of polls. We'll make this a little interactive. Let me just ask this question here, and I will launch this poll, which asks you, are you currently a paperless real estate office? And so you can click on the button, and we will see how many people are. And it's okay if you're not. That's kind of probably why you are on the webinar, right? So okay, so I'm going to close the poll here and I'll share the results. So you can see that about 67% say they are not a paperless office. 33% of you are, so that's great. And hopefully we can share some insights for you. And let me just ask this question then, which kind of goes, if you are not, I just kind of like to get a pulse of the audience, but do you know what the cloud is when I talk about the cloud? And again, there's no right or wrong answer, so don't feel bad if you. So I will close that poll. And so really a good majority of you do know what the cloud is, about 88%. And those of you who do not, that's great, because I'm going to explain what the cloud is today. And one more question, and we will get started. I'm going to just ask you, what is your biggest fear for going to a paperless office or paperless environment? And the results are coming in. Good. Okay. So we'll close that. I'll share the results real quick here. So security and losing information. I think those are the top two usually those are the top two when we talk about going paperless, because it is, we hear a lot about security and people hacking or breaking in and getting information. And also there's just that fear of losing information, I think, is also a big deal to a lot of folks. Well, let's get started with working in the cloud. Any questions you have throughout the webinar, I'll be glad to answer those. It's not going to be, hopefully, a real long webinar, and I'll try to just share with you some information and things that you could take away from this. You can see that from 2010, there was around $68 billion that was spent on what we call cloud computing. And when we talk about cloud computing, that's putting information, storing information on a computer somewhere that is connected to the internet so that you can access that information. But look at that, even up and through 2014, actually last year, almost $150 billion is being spent on cloud computing. It's growing and it's getting bigger and bigger. So for those, that small percentage who want to know, well, really, what is the cloud, John? And they'd like to know more information about that. The cloud is where you store information on an internet server or a computer somewhere that's stored to the cloud. Now, we'll also talk about why cloud computing. And the third thing we'll talk about is cloud computing safe? So those are kind of the three big functions or areas we'll talk about. And I have some free resources to share with you, and I'll kind of show you a lot of different things as we go throughout the presentation. So what is the cloud? As I mentioned, it's kind of like a computer that's connected to the internet, and then you can upload and put files into this computer. And because, if you can see on this particular slide, because your files are in the cloud or in the computer, you can access those files from many different devices. In fact, if you have an internet connection, you can access your files. I do a lot of work in France for a friend of mine, and so I spend time in France, and I have a real estate office in the United States. And it's amazing to me when I'm in France or even when I travel with Fiopsi that there are times when I receive an email or a voice message where a client or a bank or someone needs a particular file. It doesn't matter where I'm at throughout the world. If I have access to the internet, I have access to send that file via email to the person who needs it. So that's a little bit about the cloud, and really most of you are using the cloud every day. If you have a smartphone that has an application, you're using the cloud. Believe it or not, many of the applications that are on your smartphone, uh, when you go to use the application, it is communicating with a server, well, a computer. When I use the word server, I'm also talking about a computer. It's actually communicating with the computer that's connected to the internet, and it's getting the instructions and the information from that computer. So many of you, if you're using an iPhone or an Android phone or any type of a smartphone, you're really using the cloud already, and that's kind of the a fascinating look about the cloud. Well, I like to tell people the cloud's really kind of like a file cabinet. It's located on the web or the internet, and you put your files in this file cabinet. You can lock your files up. You can share them with other individuals, as I mentioned earlier. You can add to it. Fix something there. You can add to it. You can remove files from it, and you can customize it. As I'll show you, I run a paperless office, and I'm going to show you what my office looks like. So you can even customize your online office. And the really interesting thing is, as I mentioned, you can access it from almost anywhere. If you have access to the internet, you can access your files. So just remember, it's your file cabinet and make it fit your needs. When I actually sold my real estate office in 2006. I had three offices and approximately 50 real estate agents who worked for me, and I sold my company to go to work for a bank, and then it was interesting because my wife and I it took us nearly a week to put all of the files and all of the folders that we had from our office into a storage locker, and we had to hold those records for a certain length of time before we could destroy them. And so when I reopened my office, fast forward a few years, and I missed being a real estate broker and I wanted to get back into real estate. I wanted, when I got back into real estate, to open a paperless office, an office where I wouldn't have paper. And today I'm totally paperless. All of my documents and information are stored online. It, and it's very, it's very easy for me to find all of my information when I want to find it. And I'll share that with you as well. So why cloud computing? I want to show you a picture of a house. And this is one reason why cloud computing is important. The this this particular house, not this picture, but a house like this in my community had a gas leak and the house blew up. And you can see the destruction that happens if you have a fire or a gas leak and a house was to explode. If you had all your files in this house or even in your computer and it was not backed up to the internet, the files are gone. About 3 years ago, this is a picture of a community that's not far from where I live. It's called Joplin, Missouri. You probably heard of Joplin, Missouri. That's an actual photograph of Joplin, Missouri. I teach real estate classes there. To see the destruction that a tornado did to this community was mind-boggling. There were two real estate offices in this community that I know the people who run these offices. They lost every piece of paper in their real estate company. They did not have them backed up to the cloud. They were stored in paper files in their office, and a tornado one night came through Joplin, Missouri, and pretty much leveled most of the town. And those two real estate offices that I know lost all of their documents. I was talking about France, and Wallet and I have a very good friend in France, right on the French Riviera. Believe it or not, Nice, France, is also located to an earthquake fault. And we all know what happens when major earthquakes can happen near areas where there's an ocean or a sea, that a tsunami could come through. And we've seen the devastation in some areas like that. And sometimes I wonder, you just in one split second, if there's an earthquake and a tsunami and water is all of a sudden 10 or 12 feet deep to a row of buildings on a seafront community, if you don't have your files backed up, they could be gone just like that. So, cloud computing, I think, is important for us because we never know when disasters could strike. We never know when a computer could crash. We never know when a fire could happen. And having that information backed up is very important. Now, the next question people ask is cloud computing safe? I mean, we hear about all of these hacking and things that are going on, and the answer is it really depends. And I'm going to share with you some ways to make cloud computing safe. So today I'm going to just give you 7 reasons for you to consider cloud computing as a real estate professional. I'm going to give you some practical solutions and real life implementation on how cloud computing works. I'm going to kind of help you set up your paperless office and give you some ideas on that. And then I've got lots of free resources to help you get started. And most importantly, I think we need to talk about security measures to protect your data and your equipment. So, 7 reasons to use cloud computing. And we'll start with number 1. In many cases, it's free, which is really kind of neat. There are solutions that are free. Now, I'm not recommending or advocating that you use a lot of the free solutions, but there are solutions such as Dropbox and Windows Live SkyDrive or Google Drive that are free. Now, when I say free, they they allow you to have a certain amount of storage space that is free. It doesn't actually cost you anything. Let me just show you how this works. I'm going to get out of the PowerPoint just for a second. I'm going to go out to my desktop, and you'll see Nice, France, and a lot of other files I have on my computer. And I want to just go right up here to my computer, And I want to just point out something to you very quickly here. So let me right there. You'll notice that there is where I put the little green box, there is one of the names is called Dropbox. You will also notice that I have what is called Evernote. And I'm going to try to make this a little bit bigger so that you can see this. And I'm going to actually change the color of my pen to, let me do that real quick here. Right here, you will notice that I have Evernote, Dropbox, OneDrive, Google Drive, and some other types of solutions there. Now, what I have, what I want to point out is this is how the system works. This is called my favorites right up here. If I wanted to take a file, and I'm just going to take one of these files on my desktop right here. And so here's a file that I have. If I take that file and I slide that into my Dropbox right there, notice it's going to, and I'll sort these by the date added. You'll notice I added that file. It was just added up here to the top. It's an invoice that I was giving to a company I did some work for. Now, I took the file from my desktop computer and I copied it into Dropbox. And if we actually went into I'm just trying to get very creative with you here so that you can see what's happening. So now I'm going to start my computer up here. And I was hoping that I could mirror what's on my screen, but it's not allowing me to do that. But if you will trust me, that file that I just put in Dropbox right over here is now accessible on my iPhone, my iPad, and anywhere else I have a computer connection. So in many cases, what I want you to understand is things like Dropbox and Google Drive and OneDrive are actually free. You can pay a small amount to get more storage, but if you're just putting documents or scanning files, you can get a lot of information into something like a Dropbox or a OneDrive and so forth. But now I put that file in my Dropbox and I can take it with me wherever I go. So to give you another example, if you're typing a document on your computer and you want to save this document so that you can work on it later from another computer or an iPad, you would simply go to File, Save As, and you would save it in your Dropbox. And you could create a folder in your Dropbox and name that folder, or you can just take the file and drag it over as I did a moment ago. Now you have put this file into your Dropbox, and Dropbox will sync with your phone or your tablet, and everything now is accessible if you have an internet connection. So, number one, it's it's free in a lot of instances. And number two, as I just showed you, it's easy. Well, it's not that easy, okay? But it is pretty easy. And you can see that if you're on a site and you find an interesting article that is from in this case, it's Global Perspectives. I can just save this. I'm on the internet on my computer. I find an interesting article and I want to save this. I hit save. And again, I find my Dropbox folder because when I install Dropbox on my computer, it actually installs this. I call it a special folder. It's a favorite folder. And whenever you put things into the Dropbox folder, it then syncs with the computer. And now I can have all of that information available wherever I am. And you can even do the same thing with an email attachment. You just simply take the attachment and save it to Dropbox. Now, even on my iPad, I can go to Dropbox and all of those files and documents are there. So it's really pretty easy to do once you get the hang of it, and you'll really like it a lot. Now, number three, why use the cloud? If you're taking notes, so number one, it's free in a lot of cases, right? And number two, it's easy, it's not too difficult. But here's to me one thing that has helped me more than anything else in using the cloud. It saves me time. Do you know that the average person spends 16 minutes a day? Roughly, um, the average person spends 16 minutes a day, roughly 1 year of their entire lifetime looking for something they cannot find. Isn't that amazing? 16 minutes a day. I probably spent more time than that. And it's here's three reasons why our desk get messy with papers. And I learned this from a friend of mine, Barbara Hemphill. Number one, we are afraid to put something away because we won't be able to find it. So we leave it on our desk. Number two, we don't know what to do with a lot of the papers. And so Barbara teaches a principle called FAT, and I'll write that out so you can let me put a whiteboard up here. This is what Barbara says. It's FAT, the FAT system. And Barbara says we should file. I'll erase all of that. So it's FAT. And so the F stands for file. The A stands for act on it. In other words, just get it done. And the T stands for toss. And Barbara's been on CNN. She's a famous productivity expert. But Barbara says if you use the FAT principle with paperwork, it will make your life much easier. So it's an acronym for file it, put it away, act on it. In other words, just take care of it, get the business done, or put it in the trash, toss it, shred it. And so again, that's her principle, and it's called FAT, which I think is pretty good. All right, so I'll get out of this. And we'll come back to the PowerPoint. I appreciate you being patient as I move around. Sometimes visually, I think it helps if I can show some of the things there. So it saves you time. And one of the neat things about most computers is you can just type in a few words and you can usually find it. And that has helped me more than anything is the ability to save time. I can type a few words in and I can immediately find my information. So number 4, why use the cloud? You can share documents. I tell this story all the time because I remember being in Nice, France, and a banker needed a document I had because he had bank auditors at his bank, and it was extremely important that he get this paper, and he couldn't find the paper. He had lost it. His bank had, and I had a copy of it. And from Nice, France, I logged into my computer, and within seconds, I had shared the document with him. So you can share documents. Number 5, you can customize it, which is kind of neat. So you can take your your online office document storage and customize it. Now, this is the company that I use, and I don't make money from them. I just want to show you because I have a real estate office, I want my documents to be in a more secure environment than a drop. I use Dropbox and I use OneDrive and Google Drive, but for my real estate office, I use a proprietary software called NetDocuments. This is what they do for a living. And one of the things NetDocuments allows me to do is customize my office. So this is what my real estate office actually looks like. You can see that I have my listing files and I have my disclosures. In the United States, we have disclosures. If I have a pending contract, all of my files are organized, and this is called my desktop. So when I log into a client's folder, I can actually move files so that they're in a specific portion of that online environment. It just makes it easier for me to find the documents I need because if someone says, I need a copy of the seller's disclosure, I know it's in the disclosures folder. If they need a copy of a price change, I have that. So NetDocuments allows you to customize it, and I think that's what's nice about having an online cloud computing. And then why use cloud computing? It gives you peace of mind. Number 6, here's some interesting things you may not be aware of. 60% of companies that lose their data or their files will normally close down within 6 months. Think about that. If you were to lose all of your information, you have a good chance of actually having to close your office down. 30% of businesses that have a major fire go out of business within a year, and 70% within 5 years. If you don't have the information for your customers and clients, it can be devastating. I have a real estate friend now who had a computer technician come to their office and by mistake erased all of their data. This person tried and tried and hired and spent thousands of dollars trying to get their information back. It was over 20 years of information, customers' names and addresses. It literally has just caused so much grief and turmoil and money for their office. And and so they had none of that backed up to the cloud. It was just all in their local computer in their office. And it's been really a challenging situation. So it gives you peace of mind. Your information's backed up and you can rest that if something happens locally, you still got your data. And I think the seventh reason why we should use cloud computing is just that people are expecting it today. We have the internet, we know we can go to the computer, and we just expect to have that information. It's very important. I mean, you can read articles about that the computer's going away because it's being people access it through the internet. And even people like my mother, who's 84 years old, uses the computer. And we know we can go to the computer and search for information. We just expect it. So those are seven reasons why I think we should use cloud computing and think about it. Now I want to kind of give you some practical solutions. This is a little scanner that I have that I carry with me and allows me to scan and keep information stored. But our phones are doing this for us today. If you have an iPhone or even an Android, there's a little application called Scanner Pro. And I just used this week with a customer. She signed some papers for me, and I just took the picture with Scanner Pro and I let her keep the documents rather than me make a copy. And so here's an idea with Scanner Pro. You were traveling, you can take a picture of your document and it will scan that. And now you can take that and upload it to Dropbox or Evernote, or you can email it to yourself, and now you have all that information with you. You can even scan business cards and many printers today, like this printer from Hewlett Packard, actually has an email address. Believe it or not, you can you can put that in your smartphone and you can email documents right to your computer at home. So a lot of times I'll be out with my smartphone and I just send documents right to my house. This is the actual printer scanner that I use in my office, my wife and I use. And you can see it has a keyboard, it has a digital display, and literally we scan all of our documents and do all of our work right from this machine. So we're not having to scan it to our computer, we're just scanning right from the printer. And so this serves as a fax, a printer, a scanner, and it's just an amazing machine. And then I have this device in my office so that not only do I back up everything to Net Documents, but I also have my own server. And so I'm doing that because I want my information to be stored in more than one place, because you never know if Net Documents could go out of business or there's a problem. And so you want to have backup resources that you can have to scan documents. Even Apple has the iCloud that you can scan information and you could store information into the iCloud. And by the way, I'll be glad to share with Wallet. I'm recording this webinar. Any of these resources, we'll be glad to share those with you. But there are just so many solutions today. Picasa is a Google product, and I put all of my pictures in Picasa, and literally within 5 minutes, I can have a video on YouTube and my smartphone and my tablet with all of my photos and my videos in sync and stored online. PDF to Word is another solution for online. If you have a PDF document, that's called a portable document format. Sometimes people have those and they'd like to make changes to it, but you can't do that. Well, you can actually take the PDF, convert it to a Word document, and literally be able to go in, and now I can email that to me and I can open up that document and I can make changes to it. I want to show you something else that's pretty interesting. We're going to kind of jump out of the PowerPoint for a moment. And I want to talk a little bit about a program called Evernote. Many of you maybe have heard of Evernote. Evernote is a really interesting program, and it's free. It's $49 a year for the professional version. And I love Evernote. In fact, I developed an entire program on Evernote. And with Evernote, what you can actually do, I'm going to just log in here. So we'll sign in to Evernote, and you will see that I have all of my information is stored in the cloud in Evernote. So I've been actually preparing for a presentation this next week on the 10 habits of highly successful real estate offices. And so what's interesting is when you find an article that you like online. So I'm going to go, for example, out to Google, and let's just type in the word successful international real estate offices. And we find here's 35 luxury real estate agents share their secrets for selling. And you say, wow, this is a great article. I'd like to keep this. Now, most of you right now might go up and select File and Print. With Evernote, if you'll notice right up here in the top corner, there's a little Evernote clipper that you can install. I can actually save this article and put that right into Evernote. And now when we go to Evernote, and you're going to see that article is going to show up here on the right-hand side here in just a second. Has to take it a moment to sync. I'll just refresh my screen. And there's the article I just saved that into Evernote. Now I have this article in Evernote on my computer, and it is also on my iPhone and my iPad where I can read that, share it, give it to other folks, and so forth. There's really some neat things you can do with Evernote. One of the cool things here is I can create tags. So if I'm ever looking for specific articles that I tagged, these are technology trends that I tagged for 2015. All of those articles are right here. And so you can give an article or a document what we call a tag. And if you say, I'm looking for my tags for Google video marketing, there's the tag. If I want to go in and search for a name, I'm going to type in, I hope I spelled that right, Lebanon. There we go. And if that word is in any article, I have, if the word Lebanon is in any article in my Evernote, there it is. So all of those, so you can search by names, and Wallet will appreciate this because if you travel and you go somewhere, and let me find that right over here, you can actually search by what's called the atlas. So I can go and search by location. So if I said to myself, I know that I was in a specific location, I can even search by that location. So there's some really cool things you can do with Evernote. That's another type of cloud computing, and it just really will make your life a lot easier. I've actually created a training program on Evernote. If you have an interest in that, I can share more of that information with you. But you actually receive an email once a day, and it walks you through learning how to use Evernote. I've got some other resources I'm going to quickly go through for online computing. This is another company called Zoho Docs. SlideShare, I put a lot of my information about my houses online. This has been very successful for me. Cloud computing, you can even teach your agents how to complete sales contracts, and you can use programs like Camtasia or Jing. Jing is free, and I can create online training and actually upload that so that I can share that with my agents and they can follow those and learn how to do computer. So, two tips I want to give you if you're going to go paperless. Number one, don't feel like you have to go totally paperless in the beginning. In other words, just start putting a few documents up. You might start with just trying to put up things that you use regularly and kind of, slowly start using the paperless environment in a small way. And number two, think security. Always have at least what we call a strong password. And that's usually 12 characters long, and it will usually combine both uppercase and lowercase letters and some kind of a symbol with that. So go paperless, think security, don't feel like you have to do everything at one time. And then you might think about a company like Carbonite's actually backing up your files in the background without you knowing it. So I use Carbonite, and Carbonite's really good. It's $59 a year. And anytime I make a change to a file or a document, Carbonite backs it up automatically without me knowing about it. And the really cool thing is Carbonite is almost like Dropbox because you can get an app for your phone and you can access any file that's on your computer, any file. And I've used it a lot in that respect. So remember, people and clients expect us to use cloud computing. It's the future. It can be easy to implement. You can customize your cloud. And in many instances, cloud computing is really free. So don't think you have to store everything, back it up, think security, and remember that the future is changing. I use this slide when I talk about cloud computing because at the turn of the century in the United States, there was a very successful company called the Acme Buggy Whip Company, and they literally had um, they had they just had a thriving business and sold lots of buggy whips. But unfortunately, and that's a buggy whip. Unfortunately, they the automobile came about, and they actually lost a lot of their business because of that. So we've always got to be thinking about the future and remember that the things are changing and we have to change as well. So I want to thank you for joining us today. I do have, and I'm got a little thing there, and I don't ever like to um, try to sell too much. But if you have an interest in learning about Evernote or cloud computing, I do have a special offer, and I'll show you that. If you go to businesstechguy.com and you actually go to the store, I believe it is called, we'll try to find this for you here. And actually, I'll tell you what, the easiest, because I'm trying to remember where I put that. If you go to easysalesmeetings.com, right here, you can purchase my special offer. And if you buy that, you'll actually get more than just the Evernote training. But that's at EASY salesmeetings.com. Or you can just send me an email and I'll send you the information, but it's businesstechguy.com. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions on cloud computing. I really think that cloud computing has saved me a lot of time. I think it's wonderful. I really like it, and I hope that you will like it as well. And I see there may be a question or two, so I'm going to unmute. I have a question coming in, so I've unmuted you. Would you like to ask a question? Is it Osama? Are you there? Okay, I guess they didn't have a question. Well, thank you all so much. I appreciate you joining, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions whatsoever, and I'll be glad to help you in that and share any videos that I might have. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you, Wallet, again to your group, and hope that we can do another webinar soon. Thank you.